Let me take this time to shine my light. Shine the light. Shine the light.
Welcome everybody to episode number 3 of Leadership Diaries, The Light, a program where we bring in some really interesting, dynamic guests who are going to talk about their journeys, talk about some of their challenges that they've faced, talk about their highs, their lows. So I just want to urge you and ask everyone that's watching, I hope you've got a pen and paper, I hope you're buckled down, you're seated, invite your family, your friends to this content, because this is going to be content that's going to change your thinking, is going to change your thought leadership, is going to change your journey. So if you pay attention, you take notes, I can guarantee you're going to learn something. You're going to hear a lot of profound things in today's session. It's an honor, it's a pleasure to have once again my partner in this, Thabani Msomi, Sales Director from Energizer, Thabani Motivation Talks, a producer, a DJ, amongst many other things that he does. And then we have 2 wonderful guests today. We've got Andile Khumalo, aka AK, the chairman, and then we've got Nosizwe. And what we'll be doing, we'll be introducing them to you and tell you a little bit about who they are and what they've done. But I think what we always love to do is to ask them to introduce themselves. Because what we found in the last episodes is that how they introduce themselves versus how we introduce them, you'll see a significant disconnect. So this should be interesting. This should be a lot of fun.
Indeed. So maybe Nosi, you can...
okay, I can start?
Yes, please.
Okay, you already said my name. I'm Nosizwe. I like introducing myself. I like to pronounce my name correctly. And surname is Hude. I currently work for L'Oreal. And for L'Oreal, I am the brand lead for Kerastase as well as L'Oreal Professional. And I've been with the group for the past 2.5 years. And I'm a South African, proud South African. I'm a mom, which is something that I'm very proud of a young boy who is my light. And that's me. Nice and short.
That's exactly what I said. Thabani, can you please introduce Nosi to me?
Yeah, so this phenomenal lady is Nosizwe Hude, who basically hails from Cape Town. So Nosizwe's had a sparkling career, so starting at BAT as a marketing executive there, and then moved on to the Spur Group International, where she's worked there for quite a number of years. After that, moved on to Unilever, where she did shopper marketing, which was where we met actually. And then after that, she moved on to L'Oreal, where she was the brand director for Sub-Saharan Africa, looking after Mizani, the brand. And then recently, she became the brand lead for Kerastase as well as L'Oreal Professional. Very outspoken lady, so don't be confused by her seemingly shyness in this interview. Very a true visionary, in my opinion, just from my engagement and how I've seen a strong-willed, no-nonsense lady, and I think cares about people. And I think that's one of the main reasons we've asked her to come on the show. A bit later on, I'll read you just some excerpts from people that we've asked when they're trying to describe Nosizwe. But that's Nosizwe in a nutshell from my side. Is it any different from what you expected?
You gave my entire profile. I was being modest.
Mind you, just another tidbit is that Nosizwe was the first black, so not just black female, but black brand director for Mizani from Africa to run the Africa brand. And now again, she's the first black, not just female, but first black to run the Kerastase as well as the L'Oreal Professional brands for L'Oreal, which is a massive, massive achievement, which obviously for her, because it's what she does, she's that person, a trailblazer, is nothing. But for us who are in awe of the achievement, we want to make sure that we highlight that important fact.
And
Yeah.
Chap,
who are you?
who am I ask myself that question very often. So, hello everyone. My name is Andile Khumalo. I hail from Umlazi in Durban. I'm an entrepreneur. I've always been for as long as I can remember. Professionally, I'm a chartered accountant. I trained at Deloitte. I worked for Investec as a banker. And then that pretty much started my entrepreneurial journey. I've done many things over the years, but right now I look after our family investment firm called Khumalo Co. We are invested in 3 businesses. A business called INS that does investor marketing and comms. A business called Brave Group, which is through the line advertising agency out here in Hyde Park, Johannesburg. And the third business, which is my love job, is a business called I'm an Entrepreneur. That didn't quite start as a business. It started more like a passion, but now it's become a business. So yeah, that's me.
Yes. So Andile, because Andile enjoys talking, he often facilitates a lot of workshops, a lot of seminars. You find that he spoke a little bit more about who he is, but I'm going to give you a little bit more detail into this man. So Andile Khumalo, as he said, he's from Umlazi. He's an accountant by trade.
Yeah.
And when you talk to him, you realize the conversation you have with him are spreadsheets and income statements. I mean, I'll never forget a conversation that I had with him a couple of weeks ago, and his analogy was exactly that.
Yeah.
You know? Graduated from University of KwaZulu-Natal, with accounting being his major, did his honors in it. This man is, he's part of the Chartered Accountants of South Africa. So he's been inducted into that really prestigious group of people. Andile started his career, as he mentioned, at Deloitte. And once he was under the articles, he then took his career into investment banking and investing. So he spoke about being an entrepreneur, but what he never spoke about in detail was his journey and how his journey started in corporate.
Yeah.
Because to a lot of people, and to a lot of entrepreneurs out there, it's not a bad thing to start in corporate.
Yeah.
Because corporate will kind of ground you, it'll give you a lot of thinking, you'll learn many things at the expense of other people's money. And you'll be able to really fine tune, your craft before you then make that decision to become an entrepreneur.
Correct.
So after spending, a couple of years at Investec, and he was involved in, mergers and acquisitions for some really big, companies. I mean, from Growth Point to the McCarthy Group, so some really, big impactful things that happened at that time when he was there. He then left, and that's when he started his journey as an entrepreneur with his business partner, Given Mkari, and they started the MSK Africa Group, which is a media company, focused in media, telecommunications, broadcasting, amongst other things. And some of the, the assets that they owned, was, or still is, Power FM, 97, Capricorn FM, as well as a couple of other entities. And within this group, he was the chief financial officer, as well as the CIO. So that accounting background, which he is synonymous with, helped him establish this business and to make it very, very profitable. He was with this group, for over 10 to 11 years. And whilst, between 2012 and 2014, he actually got approached by the Minister of Public Enterprise to help, turn around SAA. So they brought him in to be a board member of SAA as part of this turnaround strategy. And he did this for 2 years. So I mean, when I was going through his profile, I had no idea. I'm like, this guy,
me too.
He was quoted to becoming an MEC.
Yeah, me too.
And during this time, that's when he started I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that's when I met him.
Yeah.
I met him when I was working for Pernod Ricard, and they were looking for sponsorship, and we happened to have the right brand that worked very well. I'm an entrepreneur. And that's when I saw his passion. Andile is passionate about people, he's passionate about development, he's passionate about SMMEs, he's passionate about entrepreneurs. And he's been doing this, for the last 7 years. And this has been, it's helped over 14,000 entrepreneurs, achieve their dreams, helping them in terms of, managing their businesses, marketing their businesses, how to handle their cash flow, how to do so many other things that entrepreneurs who set aside time to actually, go into this business, that, these are some of the skill sets that they don't think about. He then left the MSK Africa Group, and he founded the Khumalo company, as he mentioned, the family trust business as the chief executive officer. What people don't know is that in 2012 he was one of the Mail and Guardian's top 200 people, young, aspiring, entrepreneurs that are going to be trailblazing South Africa and the continent. And to be honest with you, he hasn't disappointed.
Yeah.
In fact, if anything, he's exceeded that and exceeded probably their expectations and everyone's expectations around him. What I'm going to share to you is a little anecdotes about what people that know him have said about him.
Yeah.
So Andile, firstly, he's a family man. Father of 2 kids, loves his wife, loves his children, loves golf, loves Liverpool, as you can tell.
Liverpool, you mean? Yeah.
Liverpool for some people, Liverpool too much.
Let's get it correct. Champion.
Champion the world. There we go. Andile, I call him AK for short. He's often called chairman. I mean, we haven't mentioned that he's the chairman on many boards. He's on so many boards. I lost track, to be honest with you. There's just so many boards. Now, this guy makes so many. He's got so many income streams coming in, which is why that spreadsheet that he talks about is more positive than negative.
I mean, I must say, when I was reading up on AK myself, a big question came to me in terms of what have I been doing with my life.
Absolutely.
And also where everybody else seems to function on 24 hours. Clearly he has a couple of extra hours that he finds to be able to do all these things that we don't. It's been phenomenal, I think, for me. Yeah, he must share that, how he does.
Oh, I'm not going to die off this.
No.
This is so nice.
You have to share what the secret is.
So, a family man, very passionate. When you're around him, he's a fun guy. You have to laugh when you're with him. He's got an infectious smile. He's a visionary, as people have described him. He knows what he wants. He has a very good sense of business. So he knows how to spot opportunities, which is what any good entrepreneur needs to do. He's a very good listener and a very good communicator. Another thing about him is his leadership skills. He has the ability to lead people in the right direction. Very, big thinking, as most visionaries are. He knows exactly what he wants. He knows exactly what's expected, and he delivers. So consistently. People have also said that he's very honest. In fact, too honest at times.
Yeah.
I've said he's too honest at times. And most importantly, he's that kind of person that always wants people to thrive. There's a person who spoke very highly of where he said, he hates Andile because Andile, being an accountant, does not want him spending money. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like, this guy saved my business.
Correct.
Because there were things that he put in place in my business that I didn't foresee. And as a result, my business not only has survived, but it's now thriving. So he's very hands-on. So a lot of visionaries often, very strategic thinking, but he has the ability to kind of move in between the two spaces. Yeah. So that is the Andile Khumalo.
Gee whiz.
That I know.
Are we done now? Can we leave?
Yeah.
The pressure.
Look, I just wanted to read just one that really stood out for me when it comes to Nosizwe, and one also that stood out for me when on Andile. So starting with Nosizwe, it was about she's very outspoken and opinionated and a hard worker. So don't be fooled again by the demeanor today. She's also fun and loves to laugh and can talk your ear off. Great leader in business. However, she will also call you out on your bullshit.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is great. And from Andile, I mean, it's some of it will be obviously as repetitive, but it was basically about he's loyal, he's trustworthy, supportive in good and bad times, self-confident. I don't know where they get that from. Fun to be around. And the one that it stood out is also about the ability to think differently, which is something that we all take for granted. We always think that we always try to put people in certain boxes, but the ability to think differently is something that we never really talk about a lot and really unpack in terms of that. So and it's one of the things obviously I would want to maybe talk about in terms of, I mean, I mean, it's for both of you, and we can choose who to start. But I mean, growing up in the Western Cape and growing up in Umlazi, in terms of what do you think? I mean, set you apart in terms of what shaped this ability to think differently, this ability to think outside of the norm that the average person obviously thinks around. I mean, it's what potentially led you to all some of the achievements that you both have been able to achieve in such a short space of time, in my opinion. What do you think are some of the things that really got you to think differently, or do you think you were just born with it?
Ladies first.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Outspoken guest.
Say no more.
All right. Well, as someone who grew up in Cape Town, Western Cape, specifically in Khayelitsha, a township, I think what set the tone for me was actually my mother, to be quite honest with you. My mom started off as, a house cleaner, who was a domestic worker. Literally, she completed matric with my elder brothers, because she decided to go back to school, because she said, you know what, I need to make a change. I'm going to do it for my kids. I need to be the example for my kids. And from there, she went on to university. She studied to be a social worker, proceeded, to even do her master's, obviously in psychology as well. And for me, that set the tone to say, you know what, I can never be a failure in life, because my mom could do it. She fell pregnant when she was 18, but that didn't get her down. She had 4 kids that she had to bring up, including my cousins, because Black people just have extended families,
Black tax.
Black tax. And she said, you know what, I'm going to make a difference. And she proceeded and became successful in her journey. My brothers set the tone. They also said, you know what, my younger sisters must look up to me. I will not be a failure. I will not be part of gangsterism in Khayelitsha. I will not be Nzara, that's what we call them. I'm going to make the difference. I'm going to finish school. I'm going to go to university, so that my younger siblings, when they look at me, we have set the tone. So that kind of, for me, gave me the fighting spirit to say, you know what, people before me have done it. Why can I not? Secondly, I've also got a younger generation that I need to set the tone for. I'm also going to be the difference. I'm going to make the change. And I think that's what got me to be where I am today. And that's what constantly drives me, because I come from that set of network that says you can never be beneath the top. So I think that was probably what has gotten me to be where I am. And that has got me to always challenge the status quo. Is to say I'm a Black young woman and I need to make a difference for other young Black women. Because I grew up in Khayelitsha, it does not mean that I cannot make the change. Because I didn't go, I'd say, to what we call to be private schools, I cannot make the change. I can definitely make that change, and anyone else can do what I've done. So I think that's what set the tone for me.
Well, it's interesting because, so one thing that was interesting for me, so I went to varsity and I studied BCom. I didn't quite get to the end for CA. I decided
Did we
it wasn't
lose
for
you?
me. Yeah. At third year, I was like, this is not for me.
It's not for me. Okay.
No, it's not for me. But what you did is, what I found was, I mean, you had your degree, with the philosophy and economic, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
But then, whilst you were working, you decided to do another degree.
Yes.
On top of that,
Yes.
a BCom law degree.
Yes.
What made you do that? Because I mean, you're already working. So
Yes.
most people go, I'm good now. I've got a job, and therefore this is it for me. I'm just gonna drive this journey.
I think what actually got me to go back and actually study while I'm still working was when I did my undergrad, was obviously in philosophy and economics. I fell in love with economics there. And initially, I've always wanted to do law. And I've always wanted to be an attorney. And that's what was always in my vision board, is that I will be an attorney. And, my mother wanted to have a lawyer in the family. And also I said, you know what, my brothers has done marketing and I want to do something different, And I think that's why I decided to actually go back and I did a BCom law and continued majoring in economics and also doing law. But then one thing I did know is that I did not want to be a criminal attorney. I either wanted to be an insolvency attorney, a tax attorney of some sort, but I wanted to do anything that's got to do with finance, corporate in it. And that's when I actually decided, you know what? I shall proceed and continue to study. And also the benchmark that's been set. You just don't do an undergrad at home. You are not allowed just to do an undergrad, you know? And so for me, that was, you know what? I have to go beyond just having an undergrad. And that's when I went to decided to do a BCom law degree while I was working. And I actually did both while I was working and studying because for me, the drive was there. The drive to be self-independent, self-sufficient financially, be able to do things for myself, pay for my own studies, because I've always been that child. Because I started working when I was in grade 10, by the way, and my mother never bought me clothes since I started working. And I've always set that tone, and I wanted to maintain that anyway. I think that's what actually drove me to actually continue to study. And because I wanted to be better, I wanted to be challenging in the environment that I was in, because at the time I was working for BAT, and I wanted to have a voice, and I wanted to have a voice that can be substantiated with academics, not just to be a minion, you know. This person speaks because she's got credentials. This person speaks because she knows what she's talking about. This person can be argumentative and be quite factual, you know. And I think law actually taught me that, because you also do moot court, where you have to actually support your arguments, and you have to be able to present your argument. And I wanted to be that person. And I didn't want anyone to shut me down because they said she does not know what she's talking about. So basically, that's what actually drove me
I understand some of the conversations we've had now, why I've lost some of the arguments. It actually makes sense now. I actually understand now. I was ill prepared. I will prepare better now going forward. Exactly. And I think for you, Andile, just in that aspect of just the journey of how the thinking differently was shaped for you into the person that you are today,
I don't think that my experience is very different from Nosi's. And I think because we're both parents, we probably have now a real appreciation for what our parents did for us.
Exactly.
So I they say an African child is brought up by a village. I'm a proper example of that. So my mom had me when she was 20. And I grew up with my grandparents, my grandfather, my grandmother, and my uncles and aunts. And I was just brought up in an environment where I was encouraged to think openly and to think critically. And I think my grandfather in particular sold me a dream. He sold me a dream in an environment where Black people were anything but free. And he sold me this idea that I could be whatever it is that I wanted to be. So I would say that kind of where my comfort with thinking differently comes from, it's only because it's all I've really known. You know, like I can't say there was something in particular that I did differently that made me think like this. I've just always been in an environment where I was free and comfortable to be whatever it is that I wanted to be. And even my own career, my own journey, I've always, set out what I wanted to do, but very responsive to opportunities. As opposed to, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to do this. Like I just didn't have it all figured out. And that freedom of thought and that liberated mind allowed me to take advantage of the opportunities that came my way as I found my way through this thing called life. And I absolutely agree with Nosi. It's about the parenting. And I look at my own children now. And I think consciously about the things I do or do not do. And I listen to them talk about their dreams and aspirations, and I react consciously. I'm not flippant about it, because I know that when they 20, 30, 40, they'll be asked this question. And I hope they give that answer. My father taught me to think openly and freely. And I figured it out because I had these ambitions. And I see it when people say I'm too honest. I can totally believe that. Because it's not natural for people to be open to ideas other than the ideas that they have or
Correct.
been led to believe.
Correct.
Whatever environment.
Mm.
New ideas or contrarian thinking isn't an easy thing to process.
Mm.
I get excited by it.
Yeah.
Somebody comes with a new idea, I go, wow, that's really clever.
Wow.
Maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
Most people in the room goes, no, that's what we've always done.
That's, yeah.
We
Mm.
don't do that stuff around here.
Correct.
I mean, here's the brand plan or whatever. This is what global says.
Yeah.
We're not in global, we are here.
Yeah.
So I guess the short answer is absolutely no disagreement. No, for me, it's definitely my folks. It's definitely my mom. It's definitely my grandfather, my grandmother. It's definitely this big family where all of them, most of them were teachers. And I pursued a career that I don't even think till this day they actually know what I do. And I had no way of going to university because they just didn't have the money to send me to go and do this BCom degree. And on my own, I went and applied for bursaries. I wrote hundreds of letters. I eventually got a bursary from Deloitte, incidentally.
Wow.
That's how I ended up working there. The only interview I had.
Mm.
They paid for me. But all of that wasn't my parents trying to push me.
Correct.
I was just in an environment that lended itself
Mm.
to want to be your best.
Mm.
You know, I don't remember being clapped around the house,
Mm.
overly disciplined.
Mm.
I just got on with it.
Mm.
And I think it's the environment that parents can create for their children earlier on.
Mm.
Then later in life, when it's time for the leadership qualities to come, they almost come naturally, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like you push yourself to do things because you want to do it for yourself, not because your parents are clapping you to do it.
Correct.
You know?
Your own ambition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it comes from that kind of environment, and it's every parent's dream to create such an environment for their children.
You spoke about writing letters.
Yeah.
How many letters were rejected?
Oh man.
How many times did you hear the word no?
And I know it's gonna sound like an exaggeration. So I went to the school in Newlands East. So Newlands East is like a colored suburb,
Correct.
just outside of Kwamash, in fact.
Yeah.
And we had moved there, and we went to the school, and the school had a guidance counselor,
Okay.
but because we couldn't afford her to come every day,
Right.
Yeah.
so she would come like 3 times a week.
Okay.
So we'd have guidance once a week, so all the classes would share her kind of limited schedule. Anyway, cut a long story short, everyone was talking about what they want to be, and I said I want to be an entrepreneur.
Mm.
I said, what does that mean? I said, no, I want to run my own business. That's what I've always wanted to do.
Mm.
And she encouraged me so much that in my matric year, I ran the school tuck shop. The school had never had a tuck shop. I started this tuck shop. And they asked me to be head prefect. I said, no, I don't want to be a prefect. I want to run the tuck shop. Who wants to be a prefect? So I ran this tuck shop.
Yeah.
And in that year, she encouraged me to start, applying for bursaries. And I kid you not, Mike, I must have written over 100 letters. I got so good at it that when they reply, if the thing was thick or thin, I would know that the thin ones I regret 1-page letter.
Yeah.
The thick one is coming with a form because there was no email. This is
Of
like
course.
circa 94.
Correct.
There's no email, so things will come. Application forms will come to the post. You complete the application form and then you send it through.
Yes.
And I would I'd be so disappointed, man. Like if they were thin, I would even be scared to open them. I probably threw many unopened ones that were probably not
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, literally over 100. I got called actually for 2 interviews. SAICA at the time, the institute, had a thing called the Eden Trust.
Yes, I remember the Eden
Again,
Trust.
success is also a function of timing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I definitely remember the Eden Trust.
You've read the book about the outliers, right?
Yes.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes.
Outliers.
Yes.
Makes a very strong case, and I absolutely believe in that.
Yeah.
So I finished high school. My last year in high school, grade 12, I guess my matric was 95.
Mm.
Where was South Africa in 95?
Right.
Mm.
Right? We were in the early days of this democracy.
Correct.
So I happened to be at a time that companies were looking for black candidates to give funding to go to university.
Yeah.
So I got called to the CA Eden Trust interview and Deloitte's interview. And I remember walking there, Deloitte was still very white, nothing like what it is today. And this panel of very old white people in grey suits with green pen and red pens. And I remember looking like, am I going to be like that? So I got this interview and they paid for me to go to university. And I still say, maybe if I was in a different country at a different time, I may not have had that opportunity at that time.
Yeah.
And you gotta seize the opportunity. And a lot of it has very little to do with you.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with where you are at the right time, where the strategy of the company is.
Going,
Look
yes.
at COVID. Look what's happening with COVID.
Yeah.
COVID is a huge opportunity
Correct.
because there's so much uncertainty,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
You gotta take it.
Mm.
You know, you can't wait for the perfect thing that you worked out in your dream, how it was going to be. It's not, you know, you're not trying to find a marriage mate here who's gonna soup you off your feet. It's business, and business most times comes with an opportunity that you didn't expect. So when I look back, I know that yes, I was a decent student at school, and yes, maybe I did interview well, but I think a lot of it had to do with being at the right place at the right time.
Well, thank you once again for tuning with us on another exciting episode of The Light. So if you really enjoyed today's content, don't forget to subscribe right here to The Light, Leadership Diaries. And after you subscribe, Tabani, what should they do?
You need to hit the bell notification so that every time we upload an episode, that you get communication.
Make sure that you like it. After you like the content, make sure that you comment on it and then share it with your family and friends.
Let me tell